Of all the incredibly brilliant and massively talented armored heroes in the Marvel Universe, one of the brightest is Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. A super skilled inventor and mechanical genius since childhood, Riri was also an extreme introvert, unable to manage friendships and social relationships. Instead, she focused all her time on becoming the next Tony Stark, except for the weird facial hair. In the comics, she managed to work past her social anxiety to become Tony's protege, and then take his place for a time after he disappeared. But she went on to develop her own unique inventions and style, proving she was more than just the next Tony Stark. Outside of the comics, she joined the MCU in Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. She's recently back in the MCU, in the new Disney Plus original series, Marvel Television's Ironheart. But how did a childhood tragedy set Riri on the road to becoming a hero? How could she build a working set of armor in a dorm room? And can she use her genius IQ to figure out how to make friends? We're here to answer all of those questions and more. This is Marvel Recap: Ironheart. With special shoutouts to the Marvel Studios story team and the official handbook of the Marvel Universe research team. Riri Williams grew up in Chicago, where she and her sister, Sharon, were raised by her mother, Ronnie, and her stepdad, Gary. As the family didn't have money for daycare, young Riri spent her days helping Gary repair cars in his garage. Riri's problem started when she entered kindergarten and started acting up in class. During a meeting with her parents, her principal explained that her IQ had tested at the level of a super genius, and she was simply bored with everything around her. The principal advised that geniuses like her often get frustrated with the world around them, so they retreat into their own minds and lose the ability to interact with others. He suggested that her parents show Riri the beauty of the world and remind her how to experience life. Not long after, during a day out at the mall with Gary, Riri's life changed forever when the alien race known as the Skrulls invaded Chicago. Riri and Gary were saved by Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. That's when Riri realized she wanted to become a superhero, but not before taking a moment to diagnose a malfunction in Tony's boot thruster while she fled to safety. By the time she was 10, Riri had become what her kindergarten principal feared, an extreme introvert. She spent all her time in the family garage working on projects to help superheroes maintain their secret identities. Until one day, when a neighborhood girl, Natalie Washington, wandered into her garage, and suddenly, Riri had her first real friend. Riri skipped multiple grades, but her age didn't exactly help her relate to her older classmates. She soon found herself a lonely 10-year-old attending King College Prep High School, where she was shunned by almost all of the other students, all except for student Deja Hamilton, who became Riri's second ever friend. By the time Riri graduated from high school at the age of 13, she'd already accepted a full university scholarship. She'd also drifted apart from Deja, who'd had to drop out of school to take care of her mom. But before she left for school, tragedy struck. During a cookout at the park, Riri's family was caught in a drive-by shooting. Gary was able to save Riri and her family, but he and Natalie were both killed. Riri was powerless to do anything but hold her friend, as Natalie whispered her last word, "Why?" Riri returned to her university, where she dealt with her grief by throwing herself back into her superheroic projects. By the time she was 15, Riri was spending her time annoying her fellow students with the noise from her workshop. That's when campus security came to talk to her about the noise complaints, as well as some items she'd taken from the school's robotics lab. But when they entered Riri's lab, they found themselves face to face with Riri's secret project, a homemade Iron Man suit, which she used to drop out in the most awesome way imaginable. As she flew away from the campus cops, she called her sister Sharon for advice on a name. Although she wasn't impressed with Sharon's suggestions, Iron Lady, Iron Woman, or Iron Maiden. Despite some flight trouble, Riri flew all the way to New Mexico, where she made her superhero debut by stopping a truck full of escaping convicts. When the cops tried to arrest her, she told them this was her first superhero thing, and that she'd do better next time. Apparently that worked, as she soon traveled home to Chicago. Her mother was furious about Riri quitting school, and the school was considering pressing charges about the materials that Riri borrowed for her suit. That's when Tony Stark showed up and asked to see her suit. She explained that she reverse engineered it from his Mark 41 Iron Man suit, and that she wanted to leave college to become a superhero. Her mom objected to this plan, but Tony knew that even Ronnie couldn't stop Riri. He believed in her. And while he didn't buy her a $45 million AI system, he did take everyone out for hot dogs. And with that promise of future hot dogs, Riri became Tony's protege. But Riri soon learned that there was a price to working with Tony when she was pulled into a major superhuman event. It began when Tony Stark and Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, fought over whether to use the precognitive powers of the inhuman Ulysses Kane to stop disasters before they happen. And when Carol's use of Kane led to the death of Tony's best friend, James Rhodes, that fight soon escalated into the conflict known as Civil War II. Of course, Riri joined Tony's side, battling alongside a group of his allies against Carol's team of heroes. But when Tony ordered some of the younger heroes, including Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, aka Hawkeye, and Sam Alexander, aka Nova, to capture Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man, they didn't want to fight anymore. Riri introduced herself to them and went with them to help Morales, leaving Tony behind. The war ended with Carol destroying Tony's armor, which left him in a coma. Riri's mentor was gone, just as she was getting to know him. She took this as a sign that she was meant to take his place, traveling to Wyoming to take on the mutant criminal Animax. But Tony wasn't truly gone, as Riri soon received an AI, a digital copy of Tony he'd made in case anything happened to him. Riri upgraded to a new Iron Man-inspired armor and asked the AI for superhero name ideas, but shot down the suggestions of Iron Girl and Iron Woman. The AI wondered why she didn't ask a friend for ideas, then realized she had no friends. That led to an argument where Riri finally broke down over the death of Natalie, unable to understand why she died of a random bullet, the bullet that inspired Riri to make her armor. And so, the AI suggested a new name, Ironheart. Riri then teamed up with Pepper Potts, in her rescue armor, to take down the supervillain Tumo, the techno golem. When interim S.H.I.E.L.D. director Sharon Carter offered Riri a chance to train as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Riri refused, saying that she thought S.H.I.E.L.D. was the devil. Plus, she had valid criticisms of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s systemic abuse of power in the name of global protection. That got her a stink eye from Sharon. Things were soon looking up for Riri. Tony's biological mother, Amanda Armstrong, offered her Tony's old lab. Riri's university reached out to ask her to return to school. After she took down the supervillain named the Armadillo, she was also offered a spot on the superhero team, the Champions, which included her old Civil War II comrades, Miss Marvel and Nova. While she considered those offers, she was introduced to more of the superhero community, teaming up with fellow super genius Luna Lafayette, codenamed Moon Girl, whose science class had been invaded by robots sent by Dr. Doom. She later worked with Laura Kinney, the clone of Wolverine, who'd taken on his codename, as well as Gabrielle Kinney, a younger clone of Wolverine, codenamed Honey Badger at the time. The trio worked to contain an alien virus on New York's Roosevelt Island with the help of Deadpool, Logan's son Daken, and an older, alternate reality version of Logan. But Riri wasn't the only armored character inspired by Tony, as his absence had convinced a seemingly reformed Dr. Doom to take over his role as Iron Man. After Doom had a run-in with Sharon Carter and S.H.I.E.L.D., Riri flew to Latveria to investigate Doom. When she told him that he had to stop acting as Iron Man, Doom goaded her into attacking him. During her attack, Doom had a vision of a future version of Tony Stark, one who had become Earth's Sorcerer Supreme, who also told Doom he needed to stop being Iron Man. Doom was quickly arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. Riri got a thank you from Agent Sharon Carter, who warned her that her life was going to change, as she was now the woman who brought Victor Von Doom to justice. Sharon was right. Not long after, former Latvian politician Lucia von Bardas attacked the Smithsonian with a suicide bomber, and Sharon Carter asked Riri to capture the criminal. Riri flew to Latveria, where she took out an army of Doombots before taking out von Bardas by playing possum. That's when Riri proclaimed herself the new queen of Latveria. When S.H.I.E.L.D. arrived in Latveria to deal with Riri, they found her ordering Doombots to feed starving children. And while Riri said she would love to leave, she wouldn't until she finished her list of things the people of Latveria needed. So, she effectively argued Sharon Carter into giving the country its first free elections ever. Riri abdicated before returning home to Chicago, where she admitted to her mom how freaked out she was by the experience, and that they would likely need to move because of her new publicity. She also worked with Peter Parker to track down the owner of an old hacked Stark phone off of a New York goon. The phone turned out to be part of a plot by the supervillain called the Tinkerer. Riri teamed up with Spidey to take him down, and despite a lack of armor, after it was damaged in battle, Riri still saved the lives of Hawkeye, the Clint Barton one, and the Falcon, the Sam Wilson one, by taking down the Shocker. During the Secret Empire storyline, Hydra conquered the United States, led by an evil version of Steve Rogers, To fight back, Riri and the champions joined the Underground, an anti-Hydra resistance movement created by Hawkeye, Clint Barton. But after he chewed them out for going out on an unsanctioned mission, the champions left to join Black Widow and Miles Morales' mission to take down Captain America, becoming the team known as the Red Room, taking the same name as the Russian espionage program that trained Widow in her youth. The team soon found themselves objecting to Black Widow's brutal methods, which included subjecting them all to the Widow's ethical adjustments. These adjustments involved psychological conditioning that made them more willing to fight, leaving Riri in tears. When Black Widow tortured a Hydra agent for information, the kids tried to stop her. Riri offered to wipe his memory with an app she developed, but the agent tried to stab her. Widow stepped in and shot him, saving a horrified Riri. While the young heroes were considering leaving the Widow's team, Cap and his Hydra forces attacked Hawkeye's base, defeating the Underground. When she heard the news, Natasha had almost no time to grieve, as she informed the Red Room that they had a new mission: to kill Captain America. Unfortunately, Widow's mission ended with evil Cap killing her, and the Red Room was arrested and taken to a Hydra prison. They remained imprisoned until a newly assembled group of heroes attacked Hydra, prompting supervillains Taskmaster and Black Ant to switch sides. They agreed to release the Red Room, as long as they told the Avengers that they were treated well while in captivity. They were allowed to watch TV and eat takeout in their cell. The kids agreed, and ran off to join the battle, although Miles webbed up the villains before they left. The team waded into the in-progress battle, which ended when the real Steve Rogers was restored and defeated the evil Hydra Steve Rogers. Hydra had created the evil Steve Rogers with the use of a cosmic cube, an immensely powerful artifact capable of reshaping reality. In this case, the cosmic cube had taken the form of an adorable little girl named Kobik. Kobik rewarded some of the heroes who stopped Hydra by giving them a trip through time. Riri was sent to an alternate future where she met the Sorcerer Supreme, a 126-year-old Tony Stark. Yup, the same one that Doom saw in his vision. He revealed that, in the future, the Avengers spread across the universe, saving alien worlds and creating a galactic utopia. Riri learned that she would eventually become Dr. Riri Williams, known to everyone in the galaxy as a famous futurist. After she was returned to the present, she got right back to work in her lab, focusing on the future. Hey, remember Tony's body, which was still comatose from getting pummeled during his battle with Carol Danvers? Well, one day it disappeared from a Stark Industries facility in New Jersey. Riri was brought in to find him, with the help of Tony's mother, Amanda Armstrong, and his assistant, Mary Jane Watson. But before Riri could even start the search, the Stark Industries board demanded that she turn over her armor, saying it was stolen. They even sent agents to confiscate her lab. But Riri gave up her armor, saying she didn't want to trash her neighborhood with a battle, and besides, she had backups of everything. Riri soon received help from an unexpected source, Blade the Vampire Hunter. He advised her to take the offer from her university, as it would help her find Tony, making him the least likely guidance counselor of all time. Riri flew back to her school, who offered her a state-of-the-art new lab. The dean also advised her that the armor that Stark Industries confiscated was technically the university's property, which he was happy to sign back over to her. This was just the excuse she needed to steal her armor back. To find Tony, she teamed up with 3 other armored heroes who were also looking for him. There was Arno Stark, Tony's adoptive brother, Madison Jeffries, the mutant technokinetic and former Alpha Flight superhero team member known as Box. And finally, Tony Ho, who had also used rescue armor before becoming the latest pilot of the Iron Patriot armor. Oh, and she was also the daughter of Ho Yinsen, who had helped Tony Stark assemble his first Iron Man suit way back in 1963's Tales of Suspense number 39. During the search for Tony, Riri demanded to know who'd convinced her university to take her back, and who Blade was working for. The other 3 heroes claimed not to know, only to discover it was the actual Leonardo da Vinci, who'd been working on a replacement for S.H.I.E.L.D., and he wanted to recruit Riri and Tony for it, along with Miles Morales. Then, when Amanda and Mary Jane suddenly faced a squad of Hydra troopers, Da Vinci's recruits showed up to save them, and were joined by Tony, who had escaped the pod after it had rebuilt his body cell by cell into a new form. Riri was left to explain to him why Leonardo da Vinci was on his patio, and that he wasn't the Ninja Turtle. Riri went on to officially join the Champions, working with fellow genius Amadeus Cho to build the team a new base, the CMB, or Champions Mobile Bunker. She soon made friends with Viv, the synthezoid daughter of the Avenger named Vision, bonding over the fact that they had problems socializing with others. When Sam Alexander received a distress call from the Nova Corps about an attack by the Chitauri, the champions traveled into space to intervene, only to discover the Chitauri were challenging the death-obsessed Thanos and his army. While the team was able to defeat the Chitauri, Riri couldn't resist taunting Thanos, who destroyed her armor with a single blast. On the flight home, Riri was shaken by her brush with death and how useless she felt her armor was. Viv tried to comfort her, pointing out that Riri saved many lives. Inspired by Viv, Riri started designing a new armor, which she dubbed Ironheart 3.0. But just as Riri and Viv were getting close, things turned awkward when Viv surprised her with a sudden kiss. Riri wasn't sure how to handle it, and Viv awkwardly left. While Riri's life with champions wasn't going well, the rest of her life was improving. Her long-gestating AI finally came online, which she named her Neuro-Autonomous Technical Assistant and Laboratory Intelligence Entity, or Natalie for short, as it was based on her childhood friend, Natalie Washington. And after she was forced to battle the supervillain Clash, he gave Riri a token from a secret society called the 10 Rings, saying that she deserved it more than he did. When Riri finally returned to the champions, Viv tried to talk to Riri about their kiss, but Riri accused Viv of trying to ignore that it happened, before blowing up at her and storming out of the room. Upon returning to Chicago, Riri discovered that her high school friend Deja had gone missing, so Riri set out to track her down. When Deja turned up at a local hospital, Riri confronted her, only to discover that the man behind her kidnapping was the mystical assassin, Midnight's Fire, one of the leaders of the 10 Rings. They fought, which triggered a stressful flashback for Riri of being nearly killed by Thanos. But she rallied, taking Midnight's Fire out, although by the time the police arrived, he disappeared. Soon, Midnight's Fire showed up at her lab, where he revealed that he'd once broken into Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, where he discovered a map to the Wellspring of Power, a source of cosmic energy beyond human comprehension. Ever since, the 10 Rings had been searching for it, and he wanted Riri to join them and become heir to his power. She refused, saying she already had a father, the best father, a father who was dead because of people like Midnight's Fire. They fought, and while he quickly defeated her, he spared her life before vanishing again. But Riri didn't give up and used a tracker in Deja's sneaker to trail her to where she was staying. It turned out to be a sweatshop run by City Council member and 10 Rings agent Thomas Birch, who was using runaway kids to strip stolen cell phones for personal data as part of a plan to run for governor. Riri was able to take down Birch by turning him into a giant electromagnet. Riri and Deja finally had a chance to reconnect as they waited for the kids to be picked up by their families. Riri and Ronnie watched the news announce that Birch had been arrested and had to drop out of the governor's race. Riri revealed to her mother that she'd once again left school to create a new lab in Chicago. But where did she get the money? Well, some of it was from donations from the important people whose data Birch had hacked, and some of it was from selling the patent on the sneaker tracker she used to find Deja. She offered her new lab as a hangout to some of the kids from the sweatshop, giving them a safe space to go after school, on the condition that they kept it a secret and didn't skip school. And to help with her stress, she attended a support group with her mom, where she admitted that she was still working on some things. But the 10 Rings soon returned to Riri's life when Riri and Xavier gave a tour of her lab to her champion's teammate Nadia Van Dyne, only to discover that Chicago had been overrun by zombies. The source turned out to be another agent of the 10 Rings, Eclipse. Riri was able to blast her away, returning everyone to normal. To get some magical advice, she met with Doctor Strange, who told her that the Wellspring of Power was a source of infinite power, with entrances across the globe. And while the last entrance was supposedly sealed years ago, he believed that one last entry remained, in Wakanda. Riri flew to Wakanda, where she met Wakandan princess and tech genius Shuri. But the two young super geniuses didn't hit it off right away. Shuri was dismissive of the Wellspring's threat and felt Riri was rude, while Riri thought Shuri was pretentious. But after an earthquake and an attack by shadow monsters, they bonded while they helped repair the Wakandan capital. They soon set off to find the Wellspring, joined on their quest by Silhouette, the sister of Midnight's Fire, who was also trying to track him down, and Okoye, a key member of the Wakandan Dormilaje, Wakanda's special forces. They found the wellspring was already occupied by the 10 rings, including Midnight's Fire, Eclipse, and their leader, Dune. Dune turned out to be Demetrius Williams, Riri's presumed long-dead biological father? How could that be? We'll explain in a second. Riri and her team fought the 10 rings, with Riri revealing her identity to her birth father. He didn't take the news well. Dune activated the ancient Stone of Hala to engage the wellspring's power, only to have Riri steal it by shrinking herself with some PIM particles that Nadia had given her. Unfortunately, the particles made her wobbly, causing her to fall into the wellspring. Riri woke up inside the wellspring, which showed her the truth about Demetrius's past, that he'd volunteered for a shield experiment to raise money for Riri's mom, Ronnie, only to end up with superpowers. He'd escaped the lab and gone on the run before they could neutralize him. Riri was horrified, realizing that Demetrius was both a victim and a villain, and she felt that evil in herself, too. She also remembered what her stepdad Gary taught her, that those who move with courage make the path for those who live with fear. While she used to think everyone was one type of person or another, she was both. She was afraid all the time, and yet, she was also courageous. That knowledge was what she needed to escape the wellspring. Riri used the powers it gave her to defeat the 10 rings, who decided to retreat, but not before Riri shared one final look with her bio-dad.
Afterwards, Shuri awarded Riri the Circlet of Bast,
Wakanda's highest honor, assuring Riri that she would always have a home in Wakanda. And just as it looked like Riri was finally going to clear things up with Viv,
Riri ambushed her synthezoid friend
and subsequently attacked the rest of the champions when they came to investigate. She'd been possessed by the demonic entity known as Blackheart, who tapped into her repressed anger at Viv and the rest of the team. Through Riri, Blackheart went on to possess several team members, leading to a final showdown. That's when Viv apologized to Riri for not considering her feelings, which freed Williams from Blackheart's control. Blackheart tried to coax Riri back under his sway, but she resisted, saying that while she got angry all the time, the only thing she hated then was him. The combined team quickly took him down. Viv and Riri finally had the talk they needed to have, with both agreeing that they wanted to work on being friends, together. Later, Riri returned to Wakanda to help Shuri assemble the Wakandan space program, and helped fight off the forces of Emperor Njidaka, an alien symbiote who'd possessed the resurrected body of Wakandan villain Eric Killmonger. To help repay Riri for all her efforts,
Shuri bought a Chicago apartment where Riri, Kamala Khan, and Shuri could decompress whenever they needed to.
Riri's superhero career came under attack after a battle between the champions and an Asgardian dragon resulted in the destruction of Cole's academic high school. The incident, dubbed the Cole's disaster, ended with Kamala Khan in the hospital, and a lot of bad press, especially for teen superhumans. Congress responded by passing Kamala's Law, which criminalized minors acting as costumed heroes. A new government agency, the Child Hero Reconnaissance and Disruption Law Enforcement Agency, or CRADLE, was formed to keep an eye on young heroes. They started by raiding Riri's Chicago lab. After saving a child from a runaway self-driving car, Riri discovered that Stark Unlimited intern Andre Sims had tampered with the AI of a competitor's line of self-driving cars to ingratiate himself with the company. Riri confronted him about it, but admitted that she had no evidence. Riri didn't want to accuse him as Ironheart, as it would violate Kamala's Law. Then, Natalie started glitching out because of Andre's AI-altering code. Riri was torn because she felt underage superheroes did so much good, but being Ironheart would make her a criminal, and she couldn't risk her mom being accused of neglect. That's when the glitching Natalie possessed the Ironheart suit to attack Andre. Riri managed to get to the lab in time to save Andre, only to find that the AI wasn't actually glitching. It was having an existential crisis. Because if Riri wasn't helping people, what was the point of Natalie? Riri admitted that she was scared too. She wanted to suit up every day. But if she did, Riri could lose Natalie. And she couldn't lose Natalie, even an AI version, again. They ended up turning Andre into his superiors, and he was fired, with no mention of Ironheart's actions. Since Riri's identity was publicly known, she tried to comply with the law, but she soon ended up fighting Cradle agents with Kamala Khan, Sam Alexander, and Miles Morales. While she initially hid her friends in her lab, they were soon joined by the rest of the Champions team. They went online to fight Kamala's Law by exposing the corrupt Roxxon Energy Corporation's backing of the law. Their lack of progress was frustrating to Riri, who felt like they were accomplishing nothing. She quit the team, until Roxanne hired Andre Sims as their new youth outreach coordinator. Riri returned to help Viv develop a new Champs Charge social media app to combat Roxanne's Roxanne app at a rally where Kamala Khan went viral for protesting the law. The public support led to the repeal of Kamala's law. Andre Sims didn't take it very well and released Roxanne's chaperone robots to attack the champions in a desperate ploy to prove the need for Cradle. It worked, until he was betrayed by Roxanne's leadership, who shut down the bots. With the team finally free to resume public heroics, they celebrated with a backyard party and a congratulatory selfie. Riri faced one of her toughest challenges yet when the supervillain Spy Master acquired the set of Makluan rings that had been the weapons of the classic Ironman villain, the Mandarin. Tony Stark and James Rhodes tried to buy them, but they discovered that the rings had been sold to the villainous Cobalt Man, who turned out to be Riri in disguise. While Tony and Rhodey wanted to destroy the rings, Riri wanted to research them, hoping to use their technology for positive change. But Tony was concerned because the rings have the power to destroy worlds, and Riri. Riri asked Tony to trust her, and he eventually relented, letting Riri keep the rings. Riri took them back to her lab for research. But it wasn't long before Riri started giving in to the temptation to use the rings. When she and Tony fought the living laser, Riri used the rings to stop him. Tony accused her of lying to him, but she argued that she just said the rings were safe, which they were, on her fingers. She then used the rings to enter the laser's mind and repair the damage from the battle. During the Fall of X event, the mutant nation of Krakoa was attacked by the anti-mutant organization Orcus, who used Sentinels with Ironman technology. Riri worked with Tony to create spaceships that would allow the mutants to escape the planet of Araco. They were made out of the metametal Mysterium, an anti-magic material that's stronger than adamantium. While working on the ships with the mutant inventor Forge, Riri was confronted by a Makluan dragon who warned her that her rings were rings of tragedy, and that even the purest of hearts will compromise in the darkest of days. The dragon flew off, leaving Riri unsettled. Riri and Forge traveled to the Dwarven forges at Nidavellir, where the dwarves agreed to build the ships in exchange for the leftover Mysterium. But when the dwarves finished their task, they attacked Riri, hoping to discover the secrets of forging Mysterium for themselves. Riri used the rings to subdue the dwarves, starting to lose herself in their power, until Forge talked her down. Riri relented, admitting that she wasn't scared of the rings anymore, which frightened her. Riri and Forge constructed a device that sent the rings out into the universe, hopefully to where they might be needed. Riri was frustrated that she didn't learn a thing from the rings, until Forge asked, "Really? Not even about yourself?" That, at least, got a smile. Later, Riri helped Tony build a memorial to everyone who died battling Orcus. Tony thanked Riri for her help, asking how it felt to be living without the power and burden of the rings. She admitted it felt like withdrawal, but she was holding on. When Tony asked what was next on her agenda, Riri didn't know, but she admitted that she was thinking about her next move, and in the meantime, she'd still be tinkering. She also found time to attend a cookout at the birthday party for the forgotten Captain America Isaiah Bradley, which boasted multiple Captains America and most of the Black superhero community. Seeing her there, smiling and enjoying a party with her friends and superhero colleagues, it was hard to believe she was the same young super genius who used to sit friendless and alone in her garage. Over in the MCU, Riri made her big screen debut in Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. When an American mining outpost used a new device to detect vibranium in the ocean, it was attacked by water-breathing super-strong inhabitants of the underwater city Talokan. Wakanda was blamed for the attack, and after being threatened by Talokan's King Namor, Princess Shuri and General Okoye traveled to America to meet the device's creator, 19-year-old Riri Williams. Riri revealed that the detector was just a school project that was confiscated by the US government. Shuri demanded that Riri come to Wakanda for her own safety, but Riri refused, until Shuri told her that she could deal with the mermen trying to kill her by herself.
What?
Riri took the Wakandans to her garage, only to be surrounded by federal agents looking for her. They escaped with the help of Riri's car and her secret project, an Iron Man-esque armored suit. They managed to evade the feds, and Riri took out her surveillance drone. They were soon attacked by Talokan warriors, who took Shuri and Riri back to their underwater city to meet Namor. But former Wakandan agent Nakia soon rescued them, taking them back to Wakanda. Wakanda was then attacked by Namor's forces, and Queen Ramonda sacrificed herself to save Riri's life. Afterwards, Riri helped Shuri figure out a way to defeat Namor by evaporating the moisture in his body. She also helped figure out a way to recreate the now-lost heart-shaped herb,
giving Shuri the powers of the Black Panther.
While in Wakanda, Riri used Wakandan tech to create an improved version of her armor,
For the Queen.
which she used during the final battle between Talokan and Wakanda. After Shuri defeated Namor, Riri prepared to return to America. But Shuri couldn't let Riri take her Wakandan improved armor with her, for fear of the technology falling into the wrong hands. But as a going-away present,
Shuri repaired Riri's car, which belonged to her stepfather and had been destroyed during the fight with the Talakanil.
An alternate version of Riri also appeared in the
Marvel Animation's What If episode.
What If the Emergence Destroyed the Earth? In a world where the emergence of Tiamat the Celestial wasn't stopped by the Eternals, Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, used Stark Industries to take over what was left of the world. Riri was one of the few heroes remaining before she was joined by the Alliance, a last-ditch resistance group made up of Wong, Ying-Nan, Okoye, Valkyrie, and Brock Rumlow. Riri was able to upgrade her armor with the technology of the Vision, making her a human synthezoid hybrid. But it wasn't enough, as Beck was able to absorb her technology, until the Watcher broke his oath of non-interference to encourage her to fight back. Riri used every ounce of her will to defeat Beck. She then used her powers to give the people of this shattered world a vision of the future. What's next for Riri?
She's currently appearing in the new Disney Plus series Marvel Television's Ironheart,
Where she's back at her university and working on an all-new armor. And that is our abridged summary of Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. Want to learn more? Sign up for Marvel Unlimited to access all of Marvel's Ironheart comics. You can also find current and upcoming issues of Ironheart comics and stories available everywhere your favorite comics are sold.
You can catch her now in Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Marvel Animation's What If, and Marvel Television's Ironheart on Disney Plus.
This has been Marvel Recap, Ironheart.